Oh Lord, you're beautiful. Your face is all I see.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's the Midweek Refuel. It's the time where you come to get some encouragement for the rest of your week as we head into the weekend. And this coming weekend is Labor Day weekend. So hopefully you're encouraged because you hopefully get the day off. Some people don't. So some people don't get to cease from their labor. They have to labor on Labor Day. There you go. Okay, so tonight we are doing Matthew 20, verse 17 to verse 28. And we are going to look at a couple different portions. I'm going to break it up, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They do flow together, but you'll see what I mean when we start reading it. So Matthew chapter 20, verse 17, and let's jump right in. As Jesus was about to go up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside by themselves, and on the way he said to them, "Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn them to death." Or they will condemn him, not them, to death, and will hand him over to the Gentiles and mock and scourge and crucify him. And on the third day, he will be raised up. Okay, so let's talk about this. Certainly would not have been a statement that just would have floated by. This would have been a remarkable, it would have turned the world of the disciples upside down, because they were looking at, hey, we're going on this upward trajectory. Jesus is with us. We're seeing signs and wonders and miracles. People are coming into relationship with God. They're growing. They're learning. This is awesome. It only gets better from here, right? And Jesus says, no, actually, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be delivered up to the religious leaders, and they're going to hand me over, and I'm going to be condemned to death. And so this obviously would have been a very challenging thing for the disciples to process. And so, essentially what Jesus was trying to get across to them throughout this entire time, and certainly we have the benefit of thousands of years of history, but in this moment, what Jesus was teaching was the message of the kingdom. Okay, John brought the message of salvation, as far as repenting of your sin, acknowledging that without God you can't do it. That was essentially the message of Jesus. And Jesus brought the message of the kingdom, which is you're being invited into an eternal relationship. And that eternal relationship is what changes you. It's not the law. It's not a religious structure. It's not going to church. It's not going to confession. It's not anything religious that we can do. Religion meaning, by that I mean there is positive, good religion, but most of the religion we connect with is man-made, and it is our way to get to God. But Jesus is saying, no, I'm making the pathway, and in order for that to happen, I have to become the perfect sacrifice that closes the door on what was, so that we can move forward into the relationship that I have been talking to you about. So this idea that signs and wonders happen, and miracles, and God does things that go beyond our human intellect, only happens through that relationship, and not through our ability to earn favor from God through our good works and good behavior, because none of that amounts to anything. He's saying rules were what we agreed to, but relationship is better. And so in this sense, he had to die. He had to become the perfect sacrifice that closed the door on the sacrificial system, so that we could see the value that he placed on relationship. Really, that's what the law was about. It was supposed to lead us to relationship with a loving Father who loves us more than we love ourselves. And the rules never qualified us, never will qualify us. Now, there's a good reason to keep the rules, right? He even within those rules, he gave us certain really good ways to live our life, but he's not using it as a control factor. He's using it as an invitation factor. Like, I'm here if you make a mistake. I'm here if you blow it. That's why I've given you grace. He's not saying live in that. He's saying grow beyond that because of relationship. And so that's why here he's saying this is going to happen to me. We're going to face some rough times, but what's on the other side of this is really good. And I think that's important. Sometimes we, it doesn't matter what stream of Christianity we're a part of. Part 2 of this Matthew chapter 20 story. Let's go to it. 20, verse 20 to verse 28. Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came to Jesus with her sons, bowing down and making a request of him. And he said to her, "What do you wish?" She said to him, "Command that in your kingdom these two sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and one on your left." But Jesus answered, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I'm about to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." And he said to them, "My cup you shall drink, but to sit on my right and on my left, this is not mine to give. But it is those for whom it has been prepared by the Father, by my Father." And hearing this, the 10 became indignant with the two brothers, because Jesus called them to himself and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles," because of this, I'm reading too quickly. Jesus called them over. "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. It is not this way among you, but whoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." So there is a lot in this passage of scripture that we could branch out in, I feel like, 100 different directions. One of the things that I see is that it's actually one of the funnier passages of scripture if this was told chronologically, because we go from Jesus talking about that he's going to die and he's going to be turned over, and it feels like the end of the road for this particular mission. And so here's James and John's mom. If you played sports at all, and one of the people on your sports team was lobbying for more playing time, or the parent was, how annoying is that? Let the coaches make their decision. But that's kind of what it looks like here. Is she's like, "Hey, I would need my kids to be at your right and left hand and to be superstars in the kingdom." And Jesus says, "Are you able to drink the cup that I'm about to drink?" Right? Remember, the cup is, and they probably didn't put it together, I'm going to die. This is such a important moment, but it's not the kind of important moment that you're thinking, because you're looking at it from a hierarchy standpoint, and I'm looking at it from what needs to be done to establish this kingdom. And so they said, "Yeah, sure, we can do that," not knowing what they were going to face. And actually, he foretells, he's sort of prophesying over them, "Yes, you actually are going to experience death, just like I did, for the kingdom. But it isn't my place to put you at my right hand or left hand. That's up to God to make that decision," right? So and then, of course, the other guys get upset with James and John for having their mom come and ask for favor. And so Jesus calls them all over. You can imagine, they're in an argument. "All right, everybody, we're going to have a team meeting. Come on over. Let me give you some perspective." And he teaches them about leadership. He gives them some great leadership insights here. And some of these leadership insights even go beyond sort of our spiritual view of what leadership looks like. He gives you actually really practical stuff, more practical, that he was at the head of the curve of the great leaders that write books these days. because he was already teaching that thousands of years ago. Okay, so he says to them, the leaders that you have in your life, they lord their authority over you, right? They control you through fear, through manipulation, through control. And that isn't the kind of leadership that is provided in the kingdom. He says that the greatest in the kingdom becomes the greatest servant. And he says that he himself didn't come to be served, but to serve. Okay, so let's look at the first principle of leadership that he's teaching there. And it's actually the most important principle of leadership. I learned this through John Maxwell, but John Maxwell actually got this from Jesus, because Jesus is highlighting it here. When we become a servant, we are choosing to lead relationally. And that means that we are teaching people that we have value for them. And so he's, in this instance, talking about how leadership is influence. I can't lead you if I don't influence you. I can lead you on a low level. I can lead you through you giving me permission to lead you because I have something you want. But to really lead people, I lead them through influence. And the best way to influence people is to serve them and to love them the way that Jesus modeled for us to love them. And so he's telling them, guys, you're looking to climb the ladder. And the old system had that sort of in it because it was so dependent upon your ability to do the right thing and to gain favor by doing that. But you missed the point. The point was all these structures were really talking to you about what God is like, who he is, the righteousness that is contained in God. But you have no ability in your own strength to be able to accomplish any of those things. Like, you actually need God in your life, or none of that is possible. And so he, again, going back to the first part of this scripture that we looked at today, he's saying the rules were fine, but the relationship is better. And that's really been at the forefront of this whole 3 years I've been walking with you. The teachings, the signs and wonders, the miracles, all those things are amazing. Man, I've been hitting things over. I just hit my coffee cup on the wall. I'm gonna have to clean that up. Anyway, I'm talking with my hands. But he's saying the best approach here, the whole point of this whole kingdom thing, is that Jesus invites us into relationship, and he wants God to influence us, not because God is controlling, not because he's a leader that lords it over us. And I really feel like in this season that we're living in, this is probably the greatest highlight, the thing that he's trying to get across to us more than anything, is that we're not following him because we have to. We're following him because we choose to. And we see the benefit of the relationship we have with him. And I think we are coming out of a season where we were following him to get favor, to curry something, to, I don't know if that's the right word, to access some kind of favor that allowed me to be this influential person in the world and change the world through, going back to the influence part, through influence, but not through the influence that I have through relationship, but the influence that I have through information, or the belief that God can do the extraordinary, the impossible, the miraculous. And again, it's just we have the accent on the wrong syllable. We're highlighting what God can do instead of who he is. And I feel like that's the season we're in, is he's trying to get us to believe who he is. And so hopefully this is encouraging to you. Hopefully you are looking at your life through the value of God influencing you and loving you right where you're at. So have an awesome week.
Oh Lord, you're beautiful. Your face is all I see.